the WILDLABS Variety Hour, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to be joined by 4 of our all-time favorite Tech4Wildlife participants from past years. So today, welcome to Variety Hour. Like I said, the theme today is our Tech4Wildlife photo challenge. This whole week, we're running our Tech4Wildlife photo challenge, and as part of the celebration, we thought we'd invite along 4 of our very favorite participants from past years to hear more about the work they've shared in the challenge. And we'd also, like I said, it's running all week, so we'd love to see all of you who've joined us, how you're using Tech4Wildlife. So take a photo, share it on Twitter, and tell us a bit about what you're doing, how you're using tech in your work. But for now, we have 4 speakers who are gonna share their work. Adrià, Felipe, Laura, and DJ have all joined us today. We have the first 3 speakers going to have 5 minutes to do a quick run through and share of their work, and then DJ is going to have a little bit longer after our intermission, which we'll hand over to Ellie. But firstly, I'm going to hand over to Adrià. Do you want to take it away?
Okay, thank you very much, Steph. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Excellent. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Can you see it?
We can, yes.
Yes, excellent. Okay, so thank you very much for inviting me. I have 5 minutes to give you a snapshot of the technology I'm using on my work. Okay, and oops, sorry for that. My name is Adrià, and I work with bats. And as you know, well, bats are nocturnal, they are elusive, they are hard to study and to capture. So that means that we have to use a lot of technology and a lot of our imagination. For those who doesn't know me, I work in a natural science museum in Spain called Granollers, and I'm responsible for the mat monitoring program, which means that we have to basically capture and follow bats all over at all time. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. We have a lot of species. Bats are quite diverse, and yeah, luckily the most endangered species, the more threatened species, are also the ones that are hardest to capture and to study. And we have to think about different ways to study them. Okay, we also have some difficulties on the landscape because at some point we have to follow the bats and capture them in places where basically there is no easy way to access their roost, like in cliffs, in high altitudes, in inaccessible places, and so on and so forth. So we have, again, to use our imagination and technology to conserve them. Places like the one I show you, or this one, like dense forests, and they are hiding in the trees, and there's like thousands and thousands of millions of trees all over. So from the very beginning, I started studying bats 17 years ago. One of my favorite techniques was radio tracking, trying to understand where they are, where they go to hunt some prey, how they move on the landscape. And we used to use traditional techniques like radio telemetry with VHF emitters and antennas, and just basically walking a lot in the mountain, following them as close as possible, triangulation, and this kind of techniques. But at some point, we always dream like, what if we had a GPS that is small enough to put on top of the animal that it's flying, and automatically we get all their movements, all the areas they hunt, and this. So, of course, bats are too small for most of the GPS tags, and eventually, in the market, they appear these tiny GPS tags that are 1 gram of weight, and because I had a collaboration in Africa with a research team from Finland, I found an excellent opportunity to fulfill my dreams. Basically, we were studying in the Lake Turkana, the lake that you can see on the top of the map. And this lake is basically surrounded by a desert landscape, like absolutely flat area with only few trees, but everything else is bushland and sand. What you can see on the bottom is actually a river of sand. And we have only one place with water, which is the lake. Basically, it's the only free water available in the whole area. And also, we have this structure that you can see here. It's actually a river although you cannot see any drop of water. And this is the only place where bats can roost, the only place that you can actually find them. And also they have these bats that they are so big that you can actually feed 1 gram tag on top of them. And these are the animals that I am speaking about. They are labiafrons, they are amazing animals. And we basically attach these tags on top of their backs. You can see them behind their huge ears. And we use these GPS tags to follow them across the landscape. We wanted to know if these animals were actually going to the lake to drink water. And what we found was like completely amazing. These animals in 1 week, they only moved about 100 meters from their tree, like the tree they are roosting. So they do not fly up until the river, and they do not drink water at all. So they basically get the water from the insects that they intake. And that's only one example that we use technology for conservation, following these species in the desert. But of course, well, we publish that if anyone is interested on the results. So at some point you can have access to the publication. But again, because I'm giving you a snapshot of everything that I'm doing, I will present other ways we use technology in multiple ways to monitor bats from the museum where I work now. One of the things that we do is going down like 300, 400, 500 meters below the, below the ground in case we are doing caving, speleology. And of course, we use traditional techniques like using basically ropes to go down, but we use technology like detectors to set them inside the caves and trying to detect species. And why is that? Because while some species are used to roost in clusters, like thousands of animals together, and they are relatively easy to spot, then you also have individual species that are more sensitive and more elusive, that they hide in the crevices, and there is no way you can find it in a 2 kilometers long cave. So we use technology to actually detect them. But also we use technology when they emerge flying from the cave. We use near-infrared recordings with external focuses and video cameras to record the emergence and count them, as you can see here in the video. If you pay attention, you will see a tiny ball of fur like emerging at high speed from the cave. So we can count them very easily. And if eventually there is several species in the cave, we combine that synchronously with acoustics, so we can actually separate the species thanks to their signature on the voice. So we record them acoustically with ultrasound, something that we cannot even hear with our ears. We combine that synchronously with the video, and then we know the number and the species. Again, outside from the case, we also like to know which bat species are hunting in our landscape. So we use tiny detectors that are pioneering. I think that most of you know AudioMod, like these tiny ultrasound detectors that they are now used in every corner of the world. So we use them. And thanks to the echolocations, like passive acoustic recorders, we can actually identify so many species, see where they are hunting. Of course, there is a platform where we store all the data, and we accumulate the data from hundreds of volunteers. And at the very end, at the very end, what we can do is having like population trends, that it's something that it has not been done in history for most of the species. So that's so cool. We are doing that thanks to the collaboration with the Supercomputing Center in Barcelona, which is a massive institution, working with petabytes of information and astronomy and so well, and some other interesting topics, but also with bats. And more lately, like the last project I'm going to present today, is something that birders have been done for a long time. So they used to call the birds using like smartphones or normal recorders. So they basically broadcast the sounds of the birds and they attract them to the binoculars, right, or towards the camera. So we are now trying to do the same with ultrasounds. And we have been developing together with the French collaborators a kind of device that can play back social calls, like the calls that bats use to interact between them. And we set these devices next to our traps. So the bats that are flying nearby, they have some attraction, so they can come, and eventually they go into the trap. So we can capture them, study them, and see what we have in our region. That's a lot of different technologies combined in a 5 minutes talk. I don't know if I've been over my time, but this has been in collaboration with a lot of institutions and a lot of people. I'm not going to name them all, but thank you very much. And if you are looking for more information, you can contact me or follow us. And that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was a whirlwind tour of all the different ways you're using tech. I'm going to, because you're at your 7-minute mark, going to direct you. If people have questions for Adrià, pop them into the chat and ask them there. Rob, a special hello. I didn't think you were coming today. I'm going to hand over to Felipe and talking about using tech in Ecuador now. Felipe, you are still muted, just in case you're...
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation. We are always following WILDLABS.NET since the beginning, and we are super happy that you called us for this. So this is our area of work. This is our office. Equilibrio Sur. We are a very small NGO founded in 2004 in Ecuador. Our main site and our main research station is in the Machalilla National Park. This beach you see over there is called La Playita, and it's the main nesting beach for the critically endangered hawksbill sea turtle. This is the most important beach in the whole of South America for this species. And this species is probably the most endangered species in the world. So it's a super important, very small stretch of beach, 800 meters long. We do research for conservation, and we love to try new technology whenever we see it. Our current projects are tropical forests, sharks and rays, coral reefs, marine birds, and of course, sea turtles. Some of the tech that we've shared in the photo challenge, it's BRAVs, baited remote underwater videos. So we lay these cameras underwater for 40 hours in each reef. So it's 40 sets of 1 hour in each reef. And we use this mainly for sharks and ray monitoring. But we are getting super important information from other species like sea turtles. And we are always getting super funny faces of fish and videos. We use camera traps. You all know camera traps and the important information it gives. We are using this in our seabird project, mainly monitoring our critically endangered waved albatross in the Isla de la Plata, and monitoring how rats are bothering them and how to control rats. And we are also using it in our tropical forest monitoring. So sea turtles, our main project at this time. We've been using satellite telemetry for 15 years now. We were the first NGO to use satellite transmitters in marine animals in Ecuador. We tagged around 14 female nesters, and now we know that they all come down, they head south after they nest in La Playita, this beach I showed you. They head south following the coast all the time, and they go to the mangrove areas just close to the border with Peru, but they never cross the border. We don't know why. They don't like Peru, and they stay in Ecuador their whole lifespans. Now we are trying to find out what's happening with males. Almost anybody in the sea turtle world knows anything about males because they are difficult to study. So we tagged 2 with satellite transmitters last year, and we find out that they are super lazy. So they just stay the whole time they were transmitting, just in the same spot, almost in the same hole that we found them 1 year ago. The lost years, this is probably the most interesting work we are doing. We are trying to find out what sea turtles do after they reach the water. So it's an unknown to science. Firstly, we get hatchlings. As soon as they had emerged from the nest, we attach to them a super small transmitter, I can show you later, or if you want questions and more photos, I can send you. But it's a super cool technology. We attach a Velcro to the carapace, and then I don't know if you see in the picture below right, this is the small sea turtle. Then we attach the Velcro, we put a line to a buoy, then a line to another buoy, and underneath this buoy, it's a super small transmitter, also 1 gram, like Adrià showed us. It's a 1 gram transmitter that is sending a signal that we follow from this boat with this receptor. So we have to row in this boat for 8 to 12 hours following the sea turtles. And it's a super hard work, but it's incredible results. What we find out with this is that sea turtles do not drift with the currents. They decide where they want to go, and they are super strong swimmers. Sometimes they go against super strong currents. So that's a thing that we used to believe, that hatchlings just drifted with currents. That's not true. To follow on this, we are attaching satellite transmitters to neonates. Also, these are sea turtles that are less than 1 year old, super small, and this was not possible 10 years ago because of the sizes of the transmitters. Now we are able to attach this and follow these turtles. We've attached 6 neonates now, until now, and we've also had some incredible results. So another thing nobody knew, we thought they stayed super close to our coast, and we tagged this sea turtle, this famous sea turtle, Julian, and he traveled in just a couple of months along the coast of South America all the way to Costa Rica. So he traveled 4 countries, and we think it crossed to Nicaragua because we lost the signal just in the border with Nicaragua. So this is incredible information that we didn't know and we couldn't know 5 years ago, probably. So Julian became really famous, both in our local media, he was in the main newspapers and newsreels here, but also in the New York Times, thanks to WILDLABS. So we are super happy about that. Most of our work still involves very low tech walking and super hard work in beaches every night during the 6 months of our nesting season. So it's super hard work, and we are so happy to have a super nice team and volunteers that help us every night. Challenges that we have with this type of work is the high cost, relatively high cost of many of this technology. The lack of funding for small NGOs. We keep seeing all these $1 million grants that go to the same 5 super big organizations in the US, probably. And for us, it's super difficult to get this funding. And we would love to have more partnerships with universities, research institutions, and NGOs abroad, because all this that I showed you right now is thanks to these partnerships. We've partnered, chance partnerships that we that have gone out in just a talk in a symposium or something, and we've been able to do all this incredible work. So I want to show you this. We have this sea turtle in one of our reefs that she keeps trying to do this every day. We lay the camera. So she still hasn't been able to eat the camera, but she keeps trying every time. And I don't know if you heard, there were some whales singing on the background also. So we want to thank all these organizations that have helped us in this project, this specific Lost Years project. Please follow us in our social media. We love to share our work. And we would love to be in touch with anyone that wants to know more about these projects, or that wants to work with us down here in Ecuador. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Felipe. I'm just a quick question. What sort of, when you say partnerships, what sort of partnerships? Like, are you looking for new tech to test, or like what would be your dream person to reach out to you?
Our dream there's many dreams, but one of our dreams is, you know, PhD students or master's students that want to do their thesis. We have super nice logistics here. We have a research station, we have boats, we have diving equipment. So we have an incredible ecosystem. You know, we have so much things to study here. But and many of these things have been like that, you know, a PhD student that wants to do something and has some funding, and we provide our end of the deal, and they come to do it. Or also, like you said, testing technology. We've been in talk with Alasdair from Arribada.
Nice.
And we are talking a lot about testing new technology, their open source tags, things like that. Also incredible. And any idea, you know, many people have ideas, and whenever we meet people in places, we start talking, and then this project comes to light, you know. So whatever idea you have.
I will take that as the first entry into our ask or offer or news for the end of the call, but basically a call out to say that if you're a PhD student, or if you have PhD students that would be interested in collaborating with you guys, definitely get in touch. And actually, I popped this call on WILDLABS as well, and like we now have it so that you can write blogs and news posts. So I would like fully invite you and encourage you to like put a call out through that platform to reach the community as well. But we'll also share this video.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If anyone in the chat has questions for Felipe, there's lots of just general enthusiasm for the photos and the work that you're doing. But if you've got specific questions, drop them in the chat, and we're going to hand over to Laura, who has given us a little sneak peek. So I'm really beyond excited. Do you want to take it away?
Yes. Hi, everyone. So I'm Laura Clepper. I'm from the University of New Hampshire. I lead the Ecological Acoustics and Behavior Lab. And I'm going to be talking today about bats, in particular, one super fun part of what I do with my research, one piece of tech, which is the hawk ear. But I use tech in a lot of ways in my work. Actually, I just made the connection that Adrià and I actually met at a conference just a few weeks ago, and we're talking about collaborating labs. So I'm going to be sending him an email after this. So it's just really great to see how tech is intersecting with what everybody is doing. So today I'm going to be talking about my device called the hawk ear, and how we can use falconry combined with technology to capture the behavior of moving organisms. And in particular, this is with bats in flight. So the fundamental question that I'm interested in with my work when I study the sensory motor behavior of bats is how I can combine acoustics and video recordings to understand the flight behavior of animals. And I do this in almost everything I do with studying animal behavior. I have the synchronized acoustics with the video recordings. But when you have bats that are leaving a cave and they're flying in their environment, navigating three-dimensional space, the challenge of how you can record mobile animals with stationary equipment can be a bit of a barrier sometimes for the data that we want to collect. So in the past, we have attempted this with traditional drone recordings. We've put cameras and microphones on drones when bats are flying at really high altitudes, and we've gotten fantastic acoustic signals. But these were when bats were moving their environment where they are fairly sparse. And if you pay attention to the drone, if you know anything about drones, you'll know that most drones have spinning little rotor blades, which could be a bit of a challenge when you're recording dense groups of bats, such as this video taken at my primary field site, which is when bats are leaving from the cave. So if you send a drone into bats of this density, you're going to have a problem on your hands from a multitude of factors, from ethical issues, from permitting issues, from data collection issues. So when I was faced with this challenge, due to a very creative discussion I had with a collaborator who actually studies falcon flight behavior, we came up with the idea of using a biological drone. So this is our biological drone. Her name is Belle. She is a Harris hawk, a female Harris hawk. And in this picture, which I submitted to the Tech4Wildlife Challenge, I think it was last year, and I got a lot of traction, which was really fun. This shows her in action. So she has a sensory unit on her head, and she's trained to fly through the bats to capture the data. So again, this is a falconry-based platform. She's kept at the field site in New Mexico. She's trained with a master falconer, and she's kept there year-round under his care. And then on her head, she carries a custom-built ultrasonic audio unit that records at 250 kilohertz. And this was built in collaboration with an electrical engineering colleague at the University of Notre Dame and his senior design students. And then we have that, we also have her carry a modified off-the-shelf camera. In the past years, we've used both 4K and 1080p. One of the challenges we have is weight on wild animals. When you talk about putting any sorts of or weight on an animal in general, there's kind of this 5% rule that you want to play around with. So you don't want the unit to be more than 5% the body weight. So we're just trying to remove as much weight as possible. And we're always up against this barrier of the weight of our unit. And so the current state is we record it with separate channels, audio and video, and then we manually synchronize with a very high-tech way of clapping in front of our camera and our microphone, which is kind of the same way that movie studios with the synchronization board do it. What does it look like when we get the data? Well, this is an example of the audio and video we get from the hawk. This is slowed down to 10% the original speed. So you can see what it looks like, and you can also hear the bat signals. And what's happening is she's flying kind of through the bats from one handler, me, to Paul Nonsky, who's the master falconer, and you can see him just at the end. So she's trained to fly from falconry glove to falconry glove. So here we go. And so we do that over and over and over and over again to get lots of data from right inside the bat swarm, which we previously would have never been able to do with our traditional recording methods. So aside from just the fun of saying I'm flying a hawk through bats in the middle of the desert, there is scientific value to this. So we're in the middle of the next steps with the analysis. Now that we have this really nice data set, we're currently using, we've in the past developed machine learning approaches so we can extract overlapping echolocation calls from these really dense recordings and then look for changes in the echolocation signal so we can quantify with some clustering techniques variation in the bat calls, so that we can begin to understand a little bit more of this fundamental question of how are bats sensing and how are bats using their echolocation in groups. So we're currently investigating how flight behavior affects echolocation behavior, how the spatial position of the bat in that group might affect what signal it's using, so that we can begin to understand if these animals are really just operating as an individual unit or if there is some sort of collective sensing that is involved in that. So next steps, which is also why I'm really excited to talk with everybody, is that this is some of the challenges that we're up against is right now we're trying to work on how we can fit multiple audio recording channels onto our unit for localization. Again, we're constrained by weight. We're always fighting this weight issue. We're really trying to work on finding an off-the-shelf camera that we can kind of cannibalize into different components that has lower weight than what's been available. And then trying to find if there's a way that we can synchronize our unit internally, again, fighting this low weight issue. And then I would also be really curious to hear from other individuals if they think of other species or behavioral situations that this tech would be useful for, because I would really like to promote the use of falconry for many other data collection purposes. So that was what I wanted to share with all of you. I'm excited to be able to talk about it.
That was very cool. You've got a lot of questions coming through in the chat. Eric, you and David basically had a similar question. Do you want to jump in and ask it?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I was wondering what % of the overall weight of the battery is. Seems to me in a lot of electronics.
Yes. So, oh, Eric, my engineer would kill me for not knowing this off the top of my head. I know that we worked on getting the smallest battery possible. So when the bats are flying, there's only about 15 minutes of emergence time that we can catch data. So if you want to talk about a high stress situation, you only go to the field for like 1 week at a time out of the year. There's only one specific time in the middle, in the day that these bats are leaving. You got like a 15-minute shot. You better hope you don't get a flat tire driving out to the cave and back. You better hope it's not raining. So it's very high stakes, but to add to it, we made it so that our battery literally only has about 10 minutes of recording time period. So I don't know the actual number for you, but I do know that we use the smallest possible battery that we could. And that is a considerable part of the weight challenge on that. And we're just using, I think, a rechargeable lithium ion. I'm a biologist. I should probably know that, but I think it's just a lithium ion battery.
Awesome. There are quite a few questions in the chat that I'm going to ask you to pick up while we hand over to Ellie. But I'd also say that these are great questions to put out there and to have as a discussion on Wild Labs, or to hang out if you have time to hang out a little bit afterwards. I'm sure a lot of the engineering type folk in the call might have some ideas, other biologists as well, for different environments it could be useful. So thank you so much for that. That was so cool. Ellie, are you prepared?
I'm prepared. I'm trying to open it in a way that it won't immediately reveal all the answers in the side slides. This is a problem I did not anticipate. So I'm trying to figure out how I can open it in presenter mode before I start sharing screen.
Or we can ask everyone to close their eyes for 30 seconds while Ellie gets her things
You know
up.
what? Yeah, this is on the honor system, everybody. Close your eyes.
Wait, Ellie, just put it in presenter mode and then share screen.
But once it's in presenter mode, I can't see the Zoom.
Okay, this is
everyone close your eyes.
Close your eyes.
I can see several members of our community closing their eyes. That's wonderful. Here we go. I'll tell you when you can open them again. Share. Okay.
Oh my goodness, Ellie.
This is part of the fun.
All right. Okay. We're good.
All right, everyone, open your eyes. It's time for a Wild Labs pop quiz. All right, here we go. In this week's Wild Labs pop quiz, because it is Tech4Wildlife Photo Challenge Week, and we get many beautiful cinematic photos and videos from our community, we'll be doing a little movie-themed game, The Camera Trap. What I'm going to do is show you a photo, and I want all of you lovely people to tell me, is this a Tech4Wildlife photo from our community, or is it a scene from a movie? Now, my lovely assistant, Steph here, my game show assistant, Steph, will be in the chat. Steph, you've been roped into this.
I feel like we should rope in Talia because I want to play. But no, yes, I'm in the chat. I'm here.
Steph and Talia will both be my lovely game show assistants. They are in the chat. Now, when I show you the photo, I want you to put in the chat if it is a Tech4Wildlife photo or a scene from a movie. And if you think it's a movie, go ahead and say what movie you think that is. And Steph and Talia will give me a feel for how it's going in the chat. Here is our first one. What do we think? Is this a Tech4Wildlife photo? Or
this one you're showing right now?
Yes.
Okay, we've got movie, King Kong, movie. Jake says Tech4Wildlife, controversial. Adrià, movie. Most people are saying movie right now.
Most people are saying movie. Okay, movie. Well.
King Kong.
That is actually one of Ollie's photos from Tech4Wildlife. Beautiful. All right.
Oh, Alistair Stewart, well done. Alistair correctly named it was. Alistair correctly named it was a Tech4Wildlife photo with gibbons. Correct.
Oh, excellent job, Alistair. Here's our second one. What do we think, folks? Is this a Tech4Wildlife photo or a scene from a movie? Now, I will say some of these I may have changed the quality slightly or adjusted colors to throw people off the track. So don't take the photo quality as your first clue.
Okay, movie, Game of Thrones from Rob, movie. Everyone is saying movie. I feel
Everyone is
like
saying movie.
everyone says movie. We've Alistair says Tech4Wildlife. Charles says Tech4Wildlife. Jake says Jurassic Park.
Jake,
So we're correct.
it's Jurassic Park 3. Here's what it looked like for real in the movie. Good job, Jake. All right. What about this beautiful whale photo? Is this a CGI whale, perhaps? Or is this a real whale that exists out in the sea?
We're having complaints lodged that adjusting the colors and quality feels like cheating.
Look, otherwise, I didn't do a lot. This one, I will say, is 100% unedited, whatever it is.
Alistair says that's not a whale, it's a Tech4Wildlife drone for collecting bat calls. Mix of Tech4Wildlife. Our resident expert, DJ, says it's a real whale. Carly says CGI. Rob says DAL 2. I don't know what that
This
means.
is a real whale. This is from Regina, our resident whale photographer, who has given us many beautiful whale encounters over the years of Tech4Wildlife. I thought this one would be really tricky. I thought this one looked the most like it had to be from a movie because it's such a good photo that it looks unbelievable.
Her photos are unbelievable.
All right, folks, how about this one? What are we looking at? We think it's Tech4Wildlife, or do we think
Oh, Rob, it's the AI for producing images. Okay, movie, Jaws.
Yeah, it's from Jaws. Good job, everyone. All right, we've got another whale. Who do we think this whale is? Do we think this is a real whale, or do we think this is an actor whale?
Free Willy from Laura. Free Willy.
I'm so happy somebody got it, though it is from Free Willy 2 specifically. I didn't think anyone would remember the Free Willy films well enough to get it.
Chords. Yeah, Free Willy. Okay.
All right, how about this beautiful beach shot?
Tech4Wildlife. Everyone says Tech4Wildlife.
This one is Tech4Wildlife, but it's still a very pretty cinematic shot, I think.
I know this one.
Okay, stop. Don't give anything away. What does everyone else think? Is this a movie?
Movie, Game of Thrones from Rob. Movie. Carly says movie. David, movie. Lord of the Rings, movie. Dan says movie. Or Bon Jovi Bed of Roses. Quality.
I was really hoping we would get some Lord of the Ring guesses, but
incorrect.
This is Shaw's photo. It's real. It's very pretty. See, this game is harder than you think because we have great photos from everyone. All right. How about this? Is this a Tech4Wildlife photo or a scene from a movie?
Bushnell? I mean, I feel like this is a trap cat, correct? Tech4Wildlife. Bushnell the movie. Jake, well done. What if it's a camera trap being used in a movie?
This is one of the ones that was a trick question. I did edit the camera trap bar into it because I knew everyone in this group would zero in on that immediately. This is a cougar from the movie Homeward Bound. The Incredible Journey.
Ellie, that was low.
And our last question about a Tech4Wildlife photo or a scene from a movie. What do we think of this sci-fi looking shot?
What do we reckon? Everyone's still hung up on the fact that you're cheating. We can say Tech4Wildlife. Movie from Alistair. Tech4Wildlife.
This is Tech4Wildlife. I thought this one would be hard because I thought it looked like it was from some kind of like alien movie. I was very impressed with this photo. And that was the camera trap. To close out, we have one final question, which will be a recurring game that we'll play in our Variety Hour game shows. Where in the world is Tech4Wildlife? Now I'm showing you this photo and I want you to drop in the chat where you think this photo was taken in the world. And if you're feeling even more ambitious, you can guess what type of animal this person was studying.
California? Scotland? Next to the sea, correct. A Pacific island, Earth. Guys.
All right, this was from
California.
New Zealand. This was Andrew studying his kakapows. I'm still not 100% sure if I'm saying that bird's name correctly. But Talia is about to drop in the chat a very cute video from last year's Tech4Wildlife Photo Challenge of one of these birds on its little feeder.
And Alistair actually got that one right.
Oh, good job.
Yeah.
I think Alistair might be crown champion of that. He got quite a few.
So.
Yeah.
I feel like Alistair got most questions right. So congratulations, Alistair. You are our champion for the day. And with that, we'll go back to the show. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for a Wild Labs pop quiz.
Brilliant, Ellie. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, DJ, do you think you can, that's a tough act to follow. Do you think you're up for it?
I was just going to say that. How did I get stuck to have to go after that? That's unfair.
Look.
But that's okay. I'll try my best.
I have no doubts you're up for it. Okay, do you want to share screen and take it away?
Absolutely, thank you. Hopefully you can all see that. Yeah, well, thank you so much for the invite to come and join in on this. It's really super fun, yeah, just really appreciate the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about our work. So the work that I want to talk about is kind of an integrated ecology project that was focused on minke whales down on the Antarctic Peninsula, which is that part of Antarctica that sticks up towards South America, and on this photo, it kind of gets at two major aspects of what we're trying to do, right? So this is us actually approaching a minke whale from a small boat with a motion sensing tag on the end of a carbon fiber pole, and the goal is to try and place that tag on the back of that animal. Those tags are you guys are probably all familiar with them. They have accelerometers and gyros, and they allow us to essentially reconstruct the movements of the animal after it leaves the surface, right? And now we're starting to combine technologies that allow us to really, sort of understand the roles that these animals are playing in this environment. We take imagery from the drone to be able to measure the size of the animals and couple that with their movements, and then details on the prey field that we collect from echo sounders to try and understand how the animals are foraging, how their prey responds to those events. And essentially for minke whales, we're really interested in how they make a living and avoid getting eaten by killer whales in this place. So it's a really cool study that's focused on the links between these animals and sea ice in fjords in the Western Antarctic Peninsula. So, and I guess I want to kind of just maybe show you some photos, not necessarily of maybe the best photos that we have, but photos that speak to me a little bit about the work and hopefully will get you inspired. I think the first thing that I have to do is actually just say that it's not just me that's doing this work, right? And so here's my photo op to show you the group of people who have helped, as we've developed these projects and have worked in my lab over time. And so we have a lot of folks here on the screen, and I don't have enough time to go through and tell you about all of them. I wish I did. They're all fantastic people, but I want you to note that every one of them is smiling and they are having so much fun. And this job that we have, where we are using new technology to try and understand how animals make a living, how we are affecting them, is such rewarding work. And so I have deep appreciation to all these people who have helped our lab work in these places. The particular project that I'm talking about is a collaboration between some folks at Stanford and at UC Santa Cruz. And I have another photo that kind of gets at that that relationship here. So here we are. I think this is going to be a band cover for our new band called Spill Control Kit. But the center person there is Ari Friedlander, who's a professor at UC Santa Cruz, expert in tagging. Jeremy Goldbogen is in blue on the right there, works at Stanford, and his lab is essentially writing the book on whale kinematics, as we speak. And then there's little me on the left-hand side there. And this gives you a sense of what it's like to live on an NSF ship for about 5 weeks at a time and get a little crazy. So that's the people, right? Lots of people involved. And when we think about this technology, ultimately it comes down to the folks that are building it, deploying it, and then using these incredible systems to be able to study the data that come out. We'll switch to some photos. And this is one of those photos that's kind of like the dream for anyone who's trying to teach anatomy of marine mammals, right? Flying over these whales, and here the whales are side by side, one's inverted, and now you could actually talk to students about both sides of the animal, dorsal and ventral. But it also kind of gets at the idea that sometimes the animals are trying to tell us about what's happening. And so if you look at the extension of the animal's pectoral flipper, it's actually pointing down to a motion sensor tag that's been placed on the other humpback whale. And it's almost like that whale was saying, hey, you guys, your tag is right here. And so it's these kinds of things that are these sort of magical things that you don't think are going to happen when you're out in the field. And having this amazing technology to be able to visualize these things can really be inspirational and also really helpful in what we're thinking about, doing things like just teaching about these animals. And so the animals, I think they have a lot to say about things when we see them in these photos. And so here's another photo. It's a humpback whale again. And I think maybe one of the things that Wild Labs might be interested in doing is doing like a caption this photo contest. Maybe you've done one before, but there's a lot of opportunity, I think, in the photos, even the other ones that we've seen today, that might be a really fun thing to do. But I always imagine this whale is sort of, coming by and then kind of points over at our engine and says, turn that thing off because it's loud. And I feel like this is, again, one of those amazing opportunities to be able to use an image to be able to drive home something that's important for marine mammals and other animals, and thinking about how we interact with them. So anyways, another example where maybe the animals are speaking to us, and certainly speaking to me about these things. And then maybe sometimes it's just they just want a belly rub or something, right? Like maybe it's maybe that's the next thing, or like, look how proud I am of all the krill that I've eaten, in the past 3 weeks. But this is kind of a really great way to capture one of these really magical moments where an animal spends maybe an hour just kind of exploring the area around us and watching what we do, and maybe learning a little bit more about what we're doing while we learn more about what they're doing. So yeah, and you guys probably have seen this photo. This is one of the ones that is sort of really captures this whole bubble net feeding thing for humpback whales, and I really I love this thing. The context for taking this photo was quite amazing. We were probably 200 kilometers offshore, well south of the Antarctic Circle, and just came across these animals that were bubble feeding like this, and the conditions were perfect. We're able to fly and get out, and this really sort of captures that lunge at the end. So this humpback whale's pointing straight out of the screen towards you, and this buddy at the top there is sort of sealing off any escape avenues those krill might have had if they were trying to escape that way. And this photo has been used by a lot of folks. I guess I should say that for our photos, we actually let people use them. We publish them with a Creative Commons license. So if people are interested in using these for teaching or anything that they need, just reach out and let us know. Everything is publicly funded, and we want to make sure that we can share those with people so that they can use them effectively for their own work. This is one of those cool photos too that lets you know that you really got it into the big time. So this book showed up last week, and we're actually now in Ripley's Believe It or Not, the latest edition, where they used that photo to talk about the, I guess, maybe somewhat hard to believe idea that these whales are using bubble nets to be able to forage. And I didn't realize this, but now when I look at this slide, it kind of has this weird optical illusion. Let me know if you're getting that same thing, but it's like that middle ball on the right-hand side there is sort of spinning slowly. It's kind of interesting, but this is how you know you made it the big time, right? You're in Ripley's Believe It or Not. And I want to, I guess, maybe end with this photo in terms of the photo stuff. And this photo really captures what we were trying to do in that minke whale project. So the stuff I showed you was with our opportunistic works with humpback whales, which are very charismatic and easy to take good pictures of. Minke whales are really elusive and they're hard to work with in a lot of cases, but this photo is amazing to be able to capture this social group of animals. And if you look closely, you'll see that 4 of those 5 animals have our tags on them. And those tags are recording all their movements underwater. They have hydrophones on them and cameras as well, right? And so now we're able to actually visualize the social aspects of these animals as they're spending their time in these fjords in the Antarctic Peninsula, feeding on krill and avoiding killer whales, which is what they're built to do. So I'm excited to see. I'm watching all these photos rolling in, and it's so cool to be able to see how people are using technology, and I'm hoping that in the future we'll be able to contribute more in that area as well as our work continues on. I want to kind of finish up quickly and just put up a couple plugs in for things. One of the things that we're doing more now is trying to train people to use drones in this particular instance. And we have a new online course series that's starting in October that's focused on essentially training people to use drones for science. And so sort of building this idea of having a scientist pilot, right, as a kind of a career. And so it's split into 3 different courses. That first course is an introduction where really the idea is to drive home how people might be able to apply drones in their work and expose them to some applications, but also basics like how does energy and information flow through a drone? Why does it even fly? And kind of getting them to the place where they would be able to start thinking about using them in their work. The second course is an operational course, and it's focused on getting people to the point where they can actually fly, be certified, but also collect, do their flights in a way that allows them to be able to collect robust data, which is different than just getting your Part 107 or any of the other certifications that you can get around the world. And then that final course is a quantitative analysis. In this case, we work with virtual machines, and students log in and they're able to work with data, their own data as well, and essentially take them through an array of different sort of activities, looking at habitat changes, doing population estimates, health and behavior, and ecosystem relationships. So as a way to try and sort of put that plug in there a little bit deeper too, one of the things that we've done in the course is really built in the gamification components of it. So working with our Duke Learning Innovation folks, most of the assessments in the class are actually games or activities, including a series of kind of choose your own adventure things that we do to help people make mistakes before they actually do them in real life. And we're building a Discord server that's persistent but allows for community building and has an entire sort of learner engagement and an economy system built in it to reward people for sort of excelling in their learning activities. Last thing I want to say is we're also hiring. So right now I'm trying to hire a postdoc, and I'm trying to hire a drone analyst and a pilot, and it is really hard to hire people these days. It is amazing how challenging this process is. So if anyone out there in this group knows of folks that are looking for jobs, send them our way, because we really need help. The picture that I'm showing you is the new drone lab space that we have on main campus, and so we're looking for people to come and work with us here and start building out some new things. So that's it. I want to leave it there and just leave you with one final picture here. This is a picture of me and probably in my most favorite habitat. This is on an ice floe offshore south of the Antarctic Circle, and I'm scooping seal poop with a giant dustpan. This is really all about me right here. So this speaks volumes, and so you've gotten to know me a little bit better now just through this photo. So anyways, thanks again for the opportunity, and happy to take any questions if I have time.
Oh, thank you so much. That was incredible. And just from what people were saying in the chat, I think it's agreed. Carly, did you want to ask your question? Oh, you're on a bus. Can you tell me if you can't ask the question? I'm assuming you're on a bus. So Carly was just wondering, there was quite a few comments in the chat around the online course for scientific use of drones. And she was just wondering if there's any funding opportunities to potentially cover some of the cost of the course for students, underrepresented minorities, those from the Global South. Are there any opportunities like that available, do you know?
Yeah, so right now we're actually trying to develop those. This is kind of new for us, and we do have we'll have a scholarship. We're going to run this every year, so it starts in October and runs all the way through to April.
Awesome.
And so next year we'll have a scholarship set up for folks in the Southeast US that's part of the Ocean Observing System. But the next step for us is to start to generate those kinds of funding opportunities so that people can make it from places where it's hard to. And being all online, it's a really great opportunity to be able to connect with those people, right? And think about education at scale. So so accessibility and scale are like top on our list.
I would love to I'd love to learn more or hear, like, have some case studies if you guys, the group that you're collaborating with at Duke around gamification of learning. It would be great to hear not just about the drones and the course, but actually how you're structuring it and the stuff, the thought process that's going along with that as well. So if you have some time, I'm sure you're quite busy, but
I'd be happy to, and I can actually connect you with the people who do it, which are fantastic. Yeah, you want to talk to them, not me, for sure.
I would like, yes, please do connect us. Okay, we have 1 minute left. And I love that all of our speakers have taken the opportunity to ask for things. I would also say, if anyone wants to support the course with funding or partner with DJ and the group, I would say reach out. That's a good opportunity. We have a few, 1 or 2 minutes. If anyone has anything they want to ask for or share or news, please just pop your hand up. Talia, I know you've got something you want to share.
I do indeed. So I'm just going to drop this link in here. We just released our State of Conservation Technology Survey for 2022, which a lot of you may be familiar with. It's how our annual community survey has evolved. And it's basically just asking all of you about your experiences working with conservation tech and hoping to use that data to improve the field and make it better. So yeah, follow that link, please take it, and also feel free to share it widely with the community. We'll be announcing more in the future, but we always really, really appreciate the time and effort you put into helping us inform our work and other people's as well.
Yeah, we're looking at, this is the 3rd year of state of conservation tech data. So we're looking at getting that longitudinal data set to track how things are changing within the sector over time. So I know a lot of you have seen this survey many times, but it is super useful to still get your perspectives and how it's changing over time. So please do take a few minutes to share it. All right, we're on the hour. Anyone else want to share anything or ask for anything? No? Okay, that's all right. Oh, Felipe is looking for research assistants for nesting season. Please check their social media. Great. DJ is answering questions about jobs. I will say my last call to action is if you've got stuff you're working on, discussions, questions that you have, please hop into WildLabs and use the platform and connect with the community in between Variety Hour calls. And all this week, drop into Twitter and use the Tech4Wildlife hashtag to share what you're working on. I know we've shared some amazing photos today, but also actually the whole point of the photo challenge is it's not about beautiful photos. It's just about sharing and bringing the community together. So if you've got, Rob, I'm looking at you, even ugly photos, and just stuff that you're working on, blurry, chaotic field photos. We want to see them, and you did, Akiva, post a photo of your DigiLab. We want to see them and hear how you're using Tech4Wildlife. It's just a really fun week of the year for us, but also the photos. We've had more than 1,000 photos shared over the last few years, and they've been in the New York Times, and we have big plans for like exhibits and like fun things that we could do now that the world's opening up. So please do jump in and participate, and we'll do our top 10 countdown on Friday. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you again next month. Drop me a message if there's anyone you really want to hear from, or if you want to talk at the next one. And we'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.